Welcome back to the CHG podcast, everybody, and say hello to Ben, David's cat. That is the neediest cat I've ever met or seen. That cat is me. You might have heard him meow in other episodes.
Yeah,
because he's always meowing.
If I'm holding him, he'll meow less. So
yes,
and until my wife can take him into the room.
Is it only you, by the way?
This is the best option.
Like, is he quiet with you, or like,
no,
does he also get quiet when Serena holds him? Or
oh no, yeah. He just wants attention.
Anyone just doesn't care, which is so funny because most cats are the exact opposite. So it's just so random that this.
He doesn't really have a preference too much.
He's just a slut for attention. That's what it is. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, welcome back to the CHG podcast, everybody, gaming podcast. So we're gonna get right into it. David needs to get back to his studies, I'm sure. So we're gonna get right into it as soon as we can about what we're playing. I got three things, just three games. We're gonna make it much shorter than last time. First, Valley. I finished it, got it done. It was an okay game, especially for the time frame, and I'm sure it was a small team. Not bad. Music was really good. I'm not gonna lie. The music was pretty damn good. But otherwise, it was fine. It was a nice little twist on the parkour gameplay, which we don't see very often. So it was all right. I'm not mad that I played it. I am mad that I fucking started Fear Effect Sedna. That is one of the worst games I've ever played, and I am actively mad when I have to play it. So, did you remember the Fear Effect series on the PlayStation back in the 90s?
Yeah, I remember them, yeah.
All right, yeah.
I never played them
yeah,
I'm a pussy.
Well, they're not scary games, bro. I said Fear Effect, not Fear.
Oh, then no.
No, so I heard of them, but I knew nothing about them. So there was two games on the PlayStation 1, maybe other systems, but on PlayStation 1 for sure. And it was kind of set of it was trying to be like a sexy spy kind of game, you know, like you play as like a few different protagonists. They're all hot and handsome and pretty and shit like that, but like, you know, sleek and all that stuff, right? That kind of theme, right? And I guess there was like a bit of a horror thing or a survival type of survival thing kind of thrown in the mix. Gameplay wise, I think it was like a Resident Evil type of tank control thing, I think, but just not as like horror oriented as Resident Evil. Well, I guess I did some more research. Apparently there were other games that were trying to be made over the years and they would get canceled or whatever. So there hasn't been one since the second game in like 2001 or whatever. And then there was a Kickstarter put out some years ago to make a new game. And that's what this is, Fear Effect Sedna. And it is essentially, apparently it takes place after the first game, but before the second, so it's in between. And you play as like up to 5 different characters. However, it's ass. It's absolutely ass. And the reason why is because they have no idea. Had no idea really what they wanted to do with the game, and it ends up being nothing. So it's, instead of it being over the shoulder or like a tank control style, like a Resident Evil thing, it's isometric or top down, like Diablo style. And so you control the characters that way, but like it has no idea if it wants to be a tactical game, like maybe like a Divinity or an XCOM types thing. It wants to do that. It wants to be a shooter because every character has guns you can use, and it just kind of wants you to just shoot people. And then it's like it doesn't know if it wants to be a stealth game because there are a couple sections in the game where specifically it's set up, the enemies are set up in a pattern where it does allow you to take them out in stealth, and in those few sections the stealth works and it's alright, it's fine. But like most of the game when you find a new area with enemies in it, you're like, okay, I'm gonna go and try to do stealth, right? Nope. Like first of all, you know, in any other real game where if you're trying like kind of like a stealth environment or whatever, like there's like, you know, the field of vision of the enemies. You don't see that field of vision until you crouch. If you're not crouched, you will not see any enemy's field of vision. Secondly, and this is something that I keep forgetting about, because you usually have teammates with you. You usually do. If you're like, okay, I'm gonna go crouch, I'm gonna go stealth, right? You have to remember to press R3 or the right stick to make your teammates not move. Otherwise, they'll keep moving and they will not be in stealth. And the enemies will hear you. You have to restart. And you have to do that every time you restart, by the way. And so you just forget, and you're just like, oh, fucking hell. And then also, even if you're not in the field of view, what you don't know is how close you can be running until they hear you. And so you have to just trial and error it over and over again. And it is the most frustrating thing I have ever played. And I hate the developers. I hate all of them. I've never actively hated people, like people who made a game, and I hate these people. They had no idea what they wanted to do. Then the story shit, the voice acting is shit. It's a cliche up the ass. The only thing I'll give it is that the art style is cool. It's like an interesting take on cell shaded graphics, which I like. It's not bad at all, and apparently the originals were cell shaded as well, so it kind of keeps that. So the artwork is cool. The atmosphere is cool. Like if I'm looking at the atmosphere in a vacuum, or like the sound design in a vacuum, it's really cool. Like I think it could create a tense atmosphere, because you do eventually fight like these weird supernatural beings and like aliens and whatever. So like it sets the theme really well, and that's fine. But that's all I can give it, because the execution is absolutely garbage, and I hate this. I hate the game. I'm so upset that I bought it. I bought it years ago thinking it'll be all right. I knew it got roasted review-wise, but I was like, come on, come on.
What does the internet know?
Like, I've played bad games before. I played Sonic 6. I can handle anything. I can't handle this. This is absolutely this is up there with Sonic 6 as far as just frustration is concerned. So I'm almost done with it though. Because, if I started, I got to finish it. So I'm almost done. I'm going to finish it tonight. I mean, the only other thing is that it's short. It's not a long game. So thank goodness it's not a long game. I'll be getting the platinum tonight. And, oh man, I wish I could this is when I wish I had something physical to hold on to. Because I can only just delete it on my hard drive and that's it. Like, I want to punch this game's case, and just tear it in half for giving me some of the worst gaming hours of my life. So that's that. And then lastly, I have started Gran Turismo Sport. And that's the
the one. Is that the latest one or the one before?
Before. This is before. And
I heard it wasn't up to snuff.
I don't know that. I don't care. What I'm doing is, so the servers are shutting down in January. At the end of January.
So you got to get all your online trophies.
Well, the thing is, the game was online only. And now apparently when the server shut down, the whole game is not completely a potato. But what's called the sport mode, which is essentially the ranked races mode and all that stuff, is shut down. And there's a couple other on livery. Is that how you say it? Is it livery? Is that how you say it? Like car liveries or liveries?
Liveries?
Live. Like Livery. In car games. It's like those design things you can put on cars. It's in Forza too. They call it livery. Is it liveries? Liveries? How do you say that? Oh my god,
now that you're saying it wrong,
how do you say it?
Come up with the word.
Livery? How do you say it? I know how it's spelled, but I've never heard anyone say it.
How is it spelled so I can see it?
Livery.
Liv what? ERY?
ERY.
No, I don't know if I've ever seen this.
But you know what I'm talking about. It's in every race. It's like a bunch of racing games. Need for Speed, Forza, Gran Turismo. It's on all the racing games. It's like those cool decals you could put on cars and stuff like that. To design them and personalize them and things like that. But I don't know what it said. It doesn't matter. The point is, there's a feature in it in sport that'll be shut off too, and there's another thing as well. So, but you can. I think apparently, from what I read, you can still do the driving challenges. You can still do the missions. That'll be available still. And so, but the point is, there are 3 trophies that really matter, and they're also the 3 fucking hardest trophies, and they're all in the sport mode. One is to get 65 pole positions, which for this game, you have to basically have a qualifying time to put you at first place at the start of every race. You need to have 91 victories, and then you need to have 322 overall races done. Now, the races is just a grind. Whatever. That's just a grind. It sucks, boring as hell, but it's just a grind. I can live with that. The wins, I played this game for about 2 days so far. I bought it on Sunday just to give it a try on my alt account. I have won 4 times so far. So that's actually okay. Like, if I actually just fucking no lifed it, I could probably get the 91 wins because the lobbies aren't big, as you might imagine, with Transfer 7 out. So the lobbies aren't crazy populated. So I can win every so often. The issue is the pole positions because it's all based on your qualifying time. And these dudes, I don't know how they have gotten, like, it's the Suzuka, the Japanese Suzuka circuit. The time for the car that you can use in this race for the daily challenge is like the best time. I'm seeing people getting 224. I can't even get under 226. And so I'm just like, these people need to leave. Like, I need you gone. Because, like, if they weren't there, I would be in first.
So, it's based off of real people's times.
Yeah, like everyone who has put a qualifying time in for this race in the time period. And if they join the race, if they join the event, not like forever and ever, like if you don't join the race, it doesn't matter. Everyone who has decided to jump into this race, if they put a time in, then it puts everyone's time who's part of the race. And so, like, I'm like in like fourth or third, sometimes, depending on how many people are in this particular lobby for the event. And what sucks is this game decided to group all the regions in an interesting way. So instead of just the US, it's all of North and South America, all of it. So I'm with Canadians and all of Latin America, and I don't know what's going on in Brazil, but these motherfuckers know how to drive some cars, because all of these people, I've seen like one Mexican person and like maybe a couple Honduras, but most of them are Brazilian, and I don't know why they love cars so much. But like, or maybe it's people who made an alt account. Maybe it's like a British person who made an alt account for America to make it easier on them or something. That, because people have done that. I don't know, but they all show Brazilian, and they're like 2 seconds ahead of me, and I'm like, if you guys weren't here, this would be so much better. Or like, if the regions were smaller, I would probably be in pole at least a couple times by now. So I'm a little worried about that. I'm still giving a bit of a test on my alt account to see, like, could I possibly hit pole? Like, is there ever a good, like, I'm trying to find that sweet spot time wise, right? Like when no one's there and I can hit pole, and like, I'm still testing before I put it in my main account. And so it's a work in progress. We will see. I will give updates every time we record this of where I'm at on this, and if I decided to take the plunge, because if I do, I'll have about 3 months to get it done. And so yeah, I just don't know, because if I don't make it, that is going to be one of the most painful things I have to stare at on a regular basis. But that's it from me.
Yeah, you don't have a lot of those ones where you haven't completed it. So
I have none, actually. I do not have any. I mean, there's one. Anything that you see that's currently, if there's anything that's on there right now, is because I'm still working on it. But like, there's nothing that's like really down far below that is like, there's a couple zeros that I've deleted off of the my list, but it's still technically in the account. But it's because the games I didn't start, like a brother or stepbrother put a disc in, and boop, there it is. And like, oh, that's great.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
No, it happened. That's the only reason why I platinumed Modern Warfare 2 back in the day, because my stepbrother put the game in, and I was like, well, gotta get the trophies now. And I ended up playing Modern Warfare 2 for the first time. So that's how that happened. But then he also did it with NBA 2K11, and I was like, nope, not doing that. So anyways, have you had time to play anything?
Yeah, I got Forza downloaded, and I've been playing Forza.
Tell us. Is it
good?
Glorious?
Yeah.
Is it glorious?
I mean, I don't know if it's my TV. I chose the standard one. So there's 3 different like modes. There's the medium mode, the performance mode, and the graphics mode. And I picked like the medium one. So I have ray tracing, but like it's not like, but it's still locked at 40 frames per second. If you go to like the graphics mode, there's like, I don't know, super ray tracing, but it's 30 frames a second. So I have the middle one, and it looks gorgeous, but I think it's been a long time since I played another Forza game, but I think it looks as good as it has ever, which isn't a bad thing, just because like Forza looks amazing. Like they look as real as a car can look, like that isn't a real picture of a real car. It's very well detailed. You can go inside and they got all the right buttons and everything of cars and shit. Like it's really cool. The driving is different, so there's a new physics engine in this one, and I can tell the difference. The cars slip and like lose traction a little bit differently. That I don't know if it feels realistic because I've never driven a car that fast before, but I can definitely tell that it is different. But it's like I can still control it. Like I can feel the car slipping, and if I'm paying enough attention, I can correct in time. I will say it's so like I'm playing all these tracks that I have been racing since fucking Gran Turismo
2 back in the day.
You know, back in the day, back when you didn't have like, so they have this system and you can turn it off, but like I feel like it is needed for you to drive the way you're supposed to drive, but there's penalties you can get for going off course and for hitting people. It is pretty forgiving. Like there's been a couple times where I've hit someone. The hitting is the only one where like I'll hit someone and I'll be looking, it's in the upper part of the screen, and I'll be looking to be like, oh fuck, are they gonna penalize me for it? The off track one, you almost always know like if you're gonna get penalized for it, because the only times you really get penalized is when you basically hit a shortcut where like you'll like go over a section of paved road that you were supposed to turn around, but you just flew across the paved section of it. And they'll if you do that, they'll fucking penalize you hard. Like they'll hit you with like the largest penalty I've gotten for one section is a 7-second penalty, like huge penalty.
Dang.
But like the collision one is the one that's so for the off road. So as long as you like, if you hit like a patch of grass and you have to get back on course, they're not going to penalize you because you hitting the grass already cost you enough time where they're not going to penalize you. Or if you get off and then you slam your brakes, do a U-turn and then get off the road back onto the right road, you're normally good. The hitting one is sometimes I'll feel like I should have got a penalty because I bumpered a guy pretty hard, and they won't penalize me. Sometimes I'll get hit. Like they'll move into me, and to correct so I don't go off course, I'll like steer into them so I don't fucking get pushed off to the side, and they'll penalize me for that. Like not huge. Like the most I've been penalized in that scenario is like a half second or like a quarter of a second. But it's still like, oh come on, they're the ones that initiated contact. You're gonna fucking penalize me for that shit? But it is kind of like, so I've been playing these tracks my whole life, and before this way of doing things, I took those shortcuts, like those paved shortcuts. Like I fucking just blew right past that shit, just all the way through it, and would shave off, a second or two sometimes of time. And now, like, there's been a few times where I've done it, like not on purpose, but just like I didn't hit the turn right, and I was gonna go out of bounds, so I just hit it straight on before I realized how heavily they penalized me, because I was like, oh, what are they gonna penalize me? And then they hit me with like 7 or 8 seconds. I'm like, oh shit, okay.
Oh geez, okay.
And I'm on the difficulty level because you also get more money for the higher difficulty level, the less assists you have. So I'm at the difficulty level where they don't let you do rewinds. So I have no rewinds. So if something really bad happens, you got to eat it. Restart the whole race.
Yeah, either restart or eat it. Yep.
I do have to eat it. I'm fine with that on most tracks. I'm pretty sure they have endurance tracks, endurance races. And if I do one of those, I'm gonna lower it down to where I can rewind.
Yeah.
Because I'm not fucking gonna go through a whole race and then hit something where I like because you can total your car in that at that level too, and I've done a few times where my engine has been at like yellow. So yeah, but no, it's great. It's fun. I've decided I like the car leveling system because I have enough money to buy. Like I'm doing the Miata circuit right now, so I have enough credits to buy this fucking 20,000 credit car and just soup it up to hell. But because I haven't leveled it up yet, I'm still having to race it at its at a lower setting. And I feel like it's better. Like I get a better feel for the car, and I appreciate when I level it up. Like I appreciate how much faster it's going, how much better it is handling turns and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm excited. They have one fully electric car in it, so I'm looking forward to getting into that. But I think it's a BMW, or no, it's one of those more like German luxury cars, so it's a lot of money, so I'm gonna get it later. But I thought that was cool. Freaking Forza Horizon 5 added the Rivian electric truck, which if they add
what that is, so okay.
It's one of the trucks I wanted to buy, but it's too expensive. It's like 75,000, 80,000.
One day, David.
Nah, I'll just get a F-150 electric truck. But yeah, so no, good. I'm having a lot of fun. I also downloaded the Yakuza game that launched. It's like a
okay. Is it the Ishin, or is it the Gaiden man who raced his
Ishin.
name? Ishin, the samurai one. Okay,
the samurai one.
Okay,
I downloaded it. My brother-in-law said it's really fun. So I'm gonna have to go and try that. But yeah, that's what I've been playing.
A lot of what you said though is also in Gran Turismo about the penalties and everything. The same things. Like I've had a couple penalties, but they've always been for cutting the track. And even then I'm like, oh yeah, I probably got caught for that. And then it's like,
well, and I'm also on the like, there's sections of it. There's like there's none, forgiving, moderate, and like the strictest one. And I'm on the strictest one.
Yeah.
So I'm on what I would consider is probably like realistic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just fun to, like you said, like you do it and you kind of catch it. You're like, oh man, yeah. Because okay,
but
so
there's been some where I've hit a corner and I felt like I hit that corner pretty good, and then they penalized me for it. I get pissed. I'm like, fuck you.
Oh, I've had the opposite where I'm like, oh, I probably cut that, and it's just like nothing comes up, and I'm like, oh yes, but like the most I've gotten is.
I've noticed as long as you have at least 2 wheels on the proper track, they won't penalize you for it. So you can cut some corners so long as you have at least 2 wheels on the proper track.
I'll try to notice that. But yeah, but the most I've ever gotten was like a half a second. And the way Gran Turismo does it, at least in these races, because remember, they're all daily races, right? And so it's already preset. And so the way, I don't know if this would be the way in the single player part of stuff, but like what it does is there's a penalty spot in the race. And so when you come up to it, it'll slow you down for that time that you're penalized for. But since my penalties have only been half a second, it barely makes a difference. But
they just add a half a second.
That's what I would assume. That's what I would assume. But they do it this way instead, and I'm like, whatever. Fine.
I wonder what way is actual racing, because I have no clue.
Yes, shoot.
I mean, ask my friend who actually watches
in F1 they add time, and F1's supposed to be a bit of a simulator of the real sport, and they just add the time at the end. So I mean, maybe that's what it is. That's what I'm gonna go with. But like that's what they do. But like with the bumpering, and like I have not been penalized once for that. Now, granted, I'm not purposely trying to bumper people. I'm trying to be clean, be a good boy. But sometimes, like you said, I'll get bumpered. I'll get bumpered, and then I'm like trying to like, oh shoot, no, and then I might end up bumpering someone else, but I haven't been penalized for it. So,
I definitely bumper a lot at the beginning, because you also get more credits for starting further back in the pack. So on most races I'm 26th. I start in the very back, so I'm fucking fighting cars for like 3-4 laps. Yeah, sometimes.
Well, you're playing single player, right? You're doing single player stuff. Yeah, all mine is all against other players. So if I do the exact same thing, if like when I'm playing F1 offline, like you best believe, because you always start in the back. Well, if you don't do qualifying, you always start in the back. And I'll just like,
You have to do qualifying, which is kind of annoying for
really,
me.
you have to do qualifying. Oh
Have to
my
do it.
god!
Yeah. 3 laps.
Oh
Most of the
my
time
gosh.
you have to do 3 laps of qualifying.
3? You can't do like 1 and just quit. Oh, I know what you can do.
Required.
I would just do 1 and then just stop, just let go of the controller and just do something else until the time runs out.
No, there's no time.
There's no
like,
time.
You gotta
Oh my-
complete the laps.
This game hates
You
me.
have to
This game
complete
hates.
the laps.
I'm never playing Forza again. I'm never playing Forza. Anyways, we're gonna move on. So this is a little fun little story that I found out just today. So there's this game that dropped. I'm sure none of you have heard of it. Well, it's like Skull Island: The Rise of Kong or some stupid like that. It's a new King Kong game. Okay, it's awful. It's absolutely terrible. It's $40. So granted, it is a budget title, but even for budget title, this is bad. Like it is literally up there with Lord of the Rings Gollum. So if you don't want to check it out for yourself, you can just Google it. It's so bad. It honestly looks like a high res PS3 game. Honestly, like PS4 is putting it mildly. If we want to do PS4, then it's like an early PS4 game. Early PS4. It's like it has jilted movement. Kong looks terrible. The enemies are crap. The boss fights there was a boss fight I saw that looks basic as all hell. It's so bad. But the point is to talk about the fact that like too many games are coming out on the platforms Nintendo, Microsoft, and Xbox that are literally just hot garbage. Not just experiments, we're talking hot garbage, right? And I wonder why. I want to know David's thoughts on why he thinks this is still able to get put past like anything. Like, is like, do they even have a regulation in place, or why do you think games like this still kind of get through when it's really clear like this should have never been released to begin with? Not just because like it's like obviously not done, but it's just like pointless. Like why even put this out, you know? And I just wonder why you think that might be.
Well, I think like we talked about earlier, you have a history of why this kind of stuff might be bad for the industry. You have the gaming collapse in the 80s, and stuff like that. I think why it's different now is a couple different reasons. One is because regardless of whether the game is good or not, whether it's successful or not, it doesn't affect it doesn't affect Nintendo financially. It doesn't affect Microsoft or PlayStation unless they're the ones putting it out. But most of the time, it's not that. They still make money off of the sales of the game, however few it does. So like, there's no negative for them in financial regards. And as we've talked about a lot on this channel, finances is the number one driver for anything. I would also say that compared to the ETs and stuff that prompted the gaming collapse, these games aren't, most of the time, with the exception of Golem, getting too much publicity that creates too much hype. And I'm talking games that absolutely fail or are unplayable, like Golem was, or this seems to be. It's not getting the hype that's going to crash the industry or really take too much of an effect. Most of the time, we have things like that article that you read that kind of shed the light on it before it gets too crazy, even if it was kind of pumped up. So I think that's the main reasons, is that it doesn't affect the platform's financials, and there isn't this sense that that even a lot of bad games is going to crash the industry anymore. The industry is too set in stone, for one. Back when the gaming industry collapsed, that was at the start of the home game industry. Like, that was why, is that people were excited about this new tech, spent a shit ton of money to get this new tech in their house, and then this new tech sucked. So they're like, well, what's the point about this new tech then? I'm just not going to buy it. Where now it's integrated, like, we're not going to see a future where there is not home gaming. It's just not going to happen. So there's all of that, those reasons, and I also think too that we talk about a lot of games coming out that are unfinished and that are bad and that need updates and constantly need patches, this sort of stuff. And yes, they absolutely need to have better game management and better polishing, especially in the big companies. But I think it's the same kind of thing as a lot of things in modern day society, where we always like to think that it's worse than it's ever been, when the reality of it is that it's probably better than it's ever been. Now, with the gaming, I don't think it is necessarily, because I honestly, and I could be just an old person saying this, I honestly do think that like late PlayStation 3, early PlayStation 4, that era is probably the best gaming we've had ever. And I don't think that this generation necessarily stacks up. And we could talk about COVID and everything, or business practices leading to that. But that being said, we're nowhere near the rate of bad games that was happening during the gaming collapse and stuff like that. So I think some of it's perspective as well.
I think another thing that's popping into my head is when you go back to just the idea of just the process, the regulation process that these platforms have. What I imagine is probably happening is that it's not that there's not a process, because people want to be like, man, who the fuck is even regulating this stuff, right? Like pigeons or something? Like, what it probably is it's either, or probably a combination of a lot of it being done by AI or just some kind of automated process. And if there are humans involved, they probably have such a low barometer to look out for that, like, as long as it doesn't like have, like, I don't know, like straight up racism, absolute egregious murdering, and complete, like, as long as it's like like there's not pornography or something in the game, then like it gets a pass, right? Like there's probably just such a low bar to get over, as far as like to just to have a game on the platform that would allow so much of this stuff to get through in the first place.
And also, we're not talking about games that like you boot up and it doesn't work. Like the game doesn't turn on, the game doesn't start. We're talking about a game that just sucks, that the assets are bad, the gameplay is bad for us as gamers, but that is inherently a perspective thing. That's an opinion thing. There is probably someone who played that game, who even played Golem, that was like, yeah, I like this game.
Oh, bro. So I'm sure if you go on that Reddit page, I'm sure there are defenders. Like, absolutely.
Yeah, so there are defenders. So this is all an opinion thing. Like, we're not going to see... So, like, for example, the famous E.T., although, yes, it was a complete game, there was a legitimate argument for that E.T. game that wasn't even a game. Like, that it was just programming, that it was just some pixels moving on a screen. Like, apparently there was like an end to that game, but it was such a not game that like there's conversation that it wasn't even a game. You can't, like, this is clearly a game. It has a goal. You are supposed to do something. It has an end. It works. But it's just objectively bad to us. So I think that's also a thing, is that we're not talking about games that just don't work or that aren't games, that are just that we paid $40 for a couple pixels to move around and on a screen. That's not what we paid for. You paid for a game. You just paid for a shit game.
Yeah, but I think, but like kind of going into my explanation for why it is going through is not even taking into effect of quality per se. It's just like, does it not have these certain things that we don't want, that we can't allow any game to have, and as long as it doesn't violate these things, then it gets the pass, right? Because I don't, it's probably not as big on the Xbox side, but on PlayStation side, it's a bit of a niche, but like there's a lot of people who go up in arms about shovelware because of people like myself, but people who are even worse than me about trophies. They prey on these suckers like myself, and they'll put out these like nothing games for like a couple bucks on the store, and you get the platinum in like a minute, 5 minutes, an hour, like My Name is Mayo, perfect example, right? Now, granted, that game seemed a bit self-aware of itself, so like
it's a meme game.
it's more like it understands, it gets it, right? But like that's just like it's just a good go to, but like there's a lot of games out there that are clearly just preying on suckers who want to boost their trophy level and their trophy score and their gold and silver platinum count. Sorry, gold and silver trophy count, because these games usually have like hella gold trophies and silver trophies, where normal games have like up to maybe 4 or 5 max. Like, and even that's rare. But a lot of people now, some people have no problems buying these. They do not care. Like they do not care. But a lot of people on the other side of that actually like want this to stop, and they're like, Sony, what is happening here? Why are you letting this go through? And so, but like it's to them though, like you said, or like we've said over the years, like it's a business, and if people are gonna buy it, who is Sony to say no to a publisher making a game where people will buy it, right? And so, but as long as it doesn't violate certain protocols that it has in place to, like, because they won't sell an AO game, an adults only game, and so like as long as it doesn't have those certain elements that would make it classified as that or other things, then it's like it's fine. It doesn't care, because like the publisher's paying us a fee to even be here in the first place. So if they want to put that out, as long as it's not being egregious or violating our rules and protocols, then it's just fine. Like, why not? Who cares?
But before we transition to the main story, we'll have a David's anime corner real quick.
Okay.
this whole topic reminded me of an anime that's premiering this season that I've watched the first 3 episodes to. It's really good, so I suggest it, and it reminds me of you. So it's called Shangri-La Frontier, and it's about a kid who plays exclusively trash games. But it's in the future to where like it's like, you know, like virtual reality and like direct drive technology.
Okay.
And in this future, like most games are shovelware games, because like it like has raised the floor enough to where like it's a game that you get to live in. Like, that's cool, but it's all like shit actual gaming. And he plays exclusively shovelware games, exclusively these trash games. And then like he beats this like really trash game that's taken him a really long time, because he talks about how like it has fucking stupid AI that holds him down. Yeah. It has trash side quests that they're just there to pad out the gameplay. And like, you know, he has to finish it because he has to complete it for all the trophies.
So it sounds like Saints Row, essentially. It's basically Saints Row 2022.
So, and then he's like tired, and the game store that he goes to is like, well, hey, why don't you play an actually fucking good game? You know, play this game called Shangri-La.
It's Shangri-La.
Yeah.
That's how you say it.
Yeah, Shangri-La Frontier. And play a good game, or what they call a god tier game.
Mm.
And he's like, cool. And he starts playing it, and because he's like suffered through all the bullshit, he's like talks about how the hitboxes are terrible in the games he plays.
Yeah.
And the lag is terrible and stuff like that. As he's playing this god tier game that has precise hitboxes and you know,
it
mechanics
works. The game works.
And stuff like that, he is so much better at this god tier game because he went through and suffered in the trash games.
Yeah,
it reminded me of you, and it's a really good anime.
No, it sounds great. It literally sounds like I might have like a freaking out of body experience. It's like watching this.
Yeah,
I might have to watch that.
Pretty good.
You might have to send that.
Good one.
You might have to send that one to me because
and this also reminds me of you in a way. Although you don't do this. Well, no, you do this. You do no armor runs and stuff like that, right?
Not really.
No, not really.
Not,
I just
not
see
unless
you like
I have
walking. Anyway, he does his thing is like he wants to do a no armor run, or at least minimal armor. Like he's all about like just DPS. He's like, I'm fucking DPS this shit. Like no armor, just DPS. He puts all of his skill points into like luck and dexterity. so he just like crits all the time. He's like, yeah, he explains it. He's just like, yeah, I'm just DPSing, man. I'm just DPSing.
No, I did a challenge on Neo stream. I did a stream challenge on Neo to do that with no armor. I did a nude run on Neo, but that's only because I know the game so freaking well. And that was just for streaming. I would never on my own time purposely do no armor. That is insanity. No thank you. But no, you have to send me that one, because that sounds, because I sometimes even I'm like, man, it has been a long time since I have played a real game, like a real good game.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I played God of War 2018 last year, I was just like, man, this game is so good. I bet you were just like, yeah, it is. Why? What's taking you?
Yep,
or when I played Horizon Forbidden West last year, I was like, man, this game is really good. No wonder it did so well. Like it's just oh man, it's a lifestyle, people. It's something you have to just get into. It's a fascination. It really is more of a fascination than anything else, because you're just like, how far can this go? It's really weird to see what developers can come up with, like of how they execute certain things, and it's not always good. I'll tell you that right now, because like I said, Fear Effect Senda, fucking hate this game. I hate this game. So sometimes you come out and you're just like, what did I just do to myself? But sometimes like Valley, you're just like, all right, interesting game, whatever. Anyways, move on.
But anyway, Xbox.
Right. As you guys all probably know,
our new overlords,
because it is about a week old now. But it is
as we do.
Microsoft, yes. Well, it's because of the timing. It sucks. Anyways, as was reported last week, it was basically confirmed that Microsoft's purchase of Activision is basically a go. I think they had to do one concession.
The Country Music Awards approved it.
Yes, they had to make like one concession to the CMA in Britain, their regulation, to like give Ubisoft some kind of like cloud proprietary. It was weird. It was the weirdest. Like, that's what you have to do. Like, what is Ubisoft
the promise not to buy Ubisoft?
It was like Ubisoft's like, I think Ubisoft has like the rights to like to Activision things on the cloud or something, or digital. It was like,
well, they're tied a lot to a lot of Activision products.
I was like, okay, it must be something behind the scenes, because like Activision, like Ubisoft doesn't even sell this shit. So like I was so lost, but like it has to be something like with some rights or some stock or some whatever that Ubisoft has within Activision. But they did that. They did that concession for the CMA, and that's all they had to do. Now apparently the FTC is not done fighting this. They're not going down, and they actually are going to appeal the court case, and so that's going to resume, I think, towards the end of the year, possibly.
See, but the way that Microsoft is acting, it like, because they put out a video for it.
Oh yeah, they did a whole. They went that they
Phil
did
Spencer
the whole
got on
thing.
the Xbox podcast and talked. Like, that's what I watched.
Oh, okay.
Phil Spencer's out there talking about it. He's going to tour all of the Activision
offices and
Blizzard
stuff. All the locations.
Offices.
Makes sense. I mean, makes sense. I mean, you should introduce yourself.
It seems done.
It looked I'm assuming it's done too. I know the FCC is appealing this, but I'm just gonna assume that it's done. Like, and I think legally, for all intents and purposes, I think it is. Even though there is the appeal, I think technically,
I don't think they would be doing all this press stuff if it wasn't.
I think you can say that it has gone through with some legality, but we'll see what happens with the FTC appeal. If somehow they actually can make their argument to push it through, I will be very shocked. But anyways, yeah, this is crazy, and I know some people are happy that it's just done with, but like I think what most people are upset or just tired of was all of the findings that came up from the court cases, with like the leaks of the new the Xbox system, and then like some emails that Sony said about Xbox and Xbox said about Sony, and somehow Nintendo got thrown in there somewhere. Like, I think that's what people are more tired with. But like, I don't think we should be tired with the fact that Microsoft just bought Activision. Like, we should not be tired of that. Like, that could
doubled their studios.
Like, just because Microsoft is losing the console race That does not mean this is not a big deal. Like this could potentially be huge. You have the second biggest publisher on planet Earth with one of the biggest global corporations on planet Earth. So like, how can people be tired of this? Like I read that and I was like, what is gonna happen now? You know, like not just because people too much can, you know, like, and we've probably been victims of this. I've looked at too much in the vacuum of just the gaming space, you know, but you know, Microsoft functions outside of that we forget about too often. Even people who play on PC probably still only think of Microsoft in the gaming sphere. You know, they don't think about them in the more broader technological, you know, industry, which is technically where they reside. And so, or like software services or whatever, right? And so it's like now because Activision is more of a gaming focused entity, it probably a lot of what will happen will be more focused with the gaming situation, but it is will be very interesting. But the problem is we probably won't even see any of this culmination for like at least half a decade, and that's part of the problem. You know, we all is going to be now is speculation. This is it's all just speculation. It's like we'll eventually, you know, we'll Call of Duty be exclusive to Xbox. Not right now, but who knows what's going to happen 5-10 years from now, right? Now apparently there is that agreement that is put in that PlayStation will have Call of Duty for the next at least decade, I guess. But you know, and then it's like, well, what happens with the mobile games? You know, is Microsoft, are they going to revitalize maybe a phone brand and then make all the King games exclusive to the stupid microphone phones that they've tried before? Like, you know, like now that'll probably be more of a long shot, but it's, you know, who knows what they will do since they own now King. It's like, are they going to allow it to, are they going to play favorites now? Probably won't because that'd be dumb. But like, these are questions now that are now all up in the air. You know, and when it comes to Blizzard, it's like, so what's going to happen? Like, you know, will something happen differently for people who use Microsoft stuff, or like, is Apple now going to be completely screwed out of you know, out of things, or out of Activision Blizzard games and stuff? Like, these are important questions, but we won't even have answers for years down the line, which is kind of what worries me, is like what's to come. So
Yeah,
that's where I'm at the moment.
like I mean, I was talking to my wife about it, and as you know, she's not
You were talking to
about
your wife about
gaming.
this? Interesting.
Yeah, I was talking to my wife about it,
Okay.
and of course, she's not about gaming at all
Yeah.
outside of a few titles. But you know, she recognized that the monopolies are bad, and this certainly feels like a monopoly. She compared it, I think, rightfully so, to the Disney acquisitions of fucking everything in entertainment, you know, you know, that entertainment sphere. Um, and yeah, I mean, there's cause for concern. Um, there's definitely ways that it could go really bad for consumers. But it is all speculation. I would say, as of right now, and of course, Phil Spencer can say whatever the fuck he wants to say. Like, he could just be lying or telling half truths. But everything that he is saying right now sounds like, for the consumer, not much is going to change. Microsoft and Xbox are going to get a lot more money, which means that they're probably going to acquire more shit. But for the consumer, at least as of right now, for what they're saying and for the rules that are in place, I don't think a lot's going to change as far as what games you can access, stuff like that. He was talking about on the Xbox podcast. He was saying a question was asked like, "Hey, you know, we've been told that exclusivity is not going to change, but are we going to see things like certain DLC drops be Xbox first? Or is there going to be certain game, you know, skins that are like Microsoft only skins, like let's say a Master Chief skin in the Xbox version of Call of Duty?" They didn't have that exact example, but that's an example that I thought of, you know, when we first heard about this stuff. That could be a Microsoft exclusive thing that they give Xbox users.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be an easy one to implement. I think it would be a natural one to implement. Like, can you imagine getting like the Needler in Warzone? Like, that would be kind of dope.
It would,
Like,
but then it's
it would
like
be
you have
it would be
balancing.
kind of dope.
You got to balance issues though, so it's like
Yeah, but
you.
I mean, they did the Predator. They did a Predator run. So like, what if it becomes like one of those things where like one person on the map becomes Master Chief, and then everybody else on the map has to like take him down or something like that. They've done stuff like that before.
Yeah, but then you have to make sure then it's only like within Xbox servers. So
Yes.
as long as you do that, then okay.
Yeah. So what he said, again, it wasn't as detailed. It was just like, is Microsoft going to get certain DLC exclusive or ahead of time, stuff like that. And Phil basically said, absolutely not. He said, I don't want, I can't remember the exact quote, but he basically said, I don't want PlayStation players to feel like they're not part of the Call of Duty kingdom, is how he put it.
Yes.
He's like, we've been on the other side of that for specifically Call of Duty stuff. Like he said, the beta that just came out for Warzone 3 was not on Xbox for the first week. It was exclusive to PlayStation for the first week. And he was like, it doesn't feel nice. Like as gamers, like he was like, Phil is a consumer, like he plays games.
Okay, you know what's funny though? He forgets to mention though that Xbox was on the receiving end of that exclusivity 10 years ago. Or maybe more like 15 years ago. Back when Modern Warfare 2 was the hot shit, they would get DLC map packs a month ahead of time before PlayStation would. Funny how he doesn't bring that up, but he loves to talk about how it hurts when they don't get it. I'm just saying, know your history.
He is saying he even said like he said that he wants everything to be parity. He wants everything to come out at the same time. He doesn't want any exclusivity, even in DLC. So he's saying the right things.
Yeah, he has to. Otherwise,
but he does have to.
He kind of has
to. Does he have to? Because like it would be like, oh yeah, no, he could have easily said something like, I do have really cool, interesting ideas for what we could incorporate on the Xbox side, like a Master Chief skin or something like that. Like he could even the game mode, maybe they couldn't have on PlayStation servers, but they could make a Master Chief skin exclusive to Xbox and PC players, and it be on the same servers as PlayStation guys, and then PlayStation sees that and like, oh fuck, I want a Master Chief.
Well, skin. Actually, would argue it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal because you're gonna have people who could be all pissed because everyone's pissed at everything. But honestly, the majority of PlayStation players, if they wanted to be Master Chief, they would have got an Xbox and bought Halo. But we didn't because we don't want to because we don't care.
Yes.
So like if they saw a Master Chief, no, I'm trying to agree with you. I'm trying to explain though that it wouldn't be a big deal if they did it because there might be it's either gonna be like, oh, that's really cool, or gonna be like, oh, I wish I had that. But it's like you chose PlayStation on purpose, and if you wanted Xbox, if you wanted Halo from the get go, you would have got an Xbox because you knew Halo was coming. If it was coming, so like, but you didn't because you probably don't like it that much. So it's like, who cares? And so I'm agreeing with you. But I imagine, go ahead.
Go for it.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I think maybe the bigger, more immediate question is like, with Activision being under Microsoft, and apparently Bobby Kotick will actually be no longer the CEO after the end of the year. He will be stepping down and leaving Activision apparently. What makes me wonder is, will Microsoft inject, additional funding into the teams to possibly, make the games that make established franchises even better potentially for everybody, or like, will the additional workforce from Activision, will they try to incorporate that with their already established teams with other developers that they've bought? For instance, like Arcane or something, and give them more help so that maybe we don't have another Redfall on Microsoft's hands. So that's what I wonder behind the scenes. Will Microsoft be able to do anything with this gigantic additional workforce now under them?
So he kind of talked about that in the podcast too. And again, like I think naturally we're gonna be more positive on this podcast, mainly because all of the dark stuff is just like general monopoly shit. Like it's like monopolies are bad guys.
Yeah,
Like
it's like
and
business overlords.
it's bad.
Yeah.
But like, so he was talking about that kind of thought, and he basically said, and he said this about Bethesda, and we start hearing things from Bethesda of like doing a Fallout remake, or visiting other IPs and stuff like that. He was like, I want to go to the staff and say, what do you want to make? And what they want to make, I'm going to let them make it.
That's we'll see.
So
I would love for that to happen, but we'll see. We will see.
Because they were like, what if because the interviewers are like, what if they want to make another Tony Hawk game? What if they want to make Hexagon, or like it's a old '90s shooter that Activision made? What if they want to make XYZ? He was like, all I care about is developers making games that they're passionate about, because if they're making games that they're not passionate about because they need to make money, that's not going to be a good game. It's like, I want them to make games that they want to make. So again, he says the right things.
That sounds great, and I it's words like that is no surprise why people fucking love this guy. Like, I watched the Gamescom conference back in August, and he picked up an award for, I think, like sustainability or something like that. When this man goes up, he is just cheered to high heavens. People love this man, and when he says things like that, I can see why. But
Uncle Phil, man.
But it's like, he's also like on part of the executive team of Microsoft, and they have to answer to shareholders. They have to answer to people. He has to answer to Satya, to Nadella. So it's like, it's great that he has one foot on the side of the developers and the little guys and us, but he has that other foot that has to be on the corporate side. He doesn't have a choice in that matter. So we'll have to see what really happens. Honestly, because they own the franchises that I love the most, which I hate the fact that they do, the fact that they still have the IP to Tony Hawk, Crash, and Spyro. I honestly actually now don't want them to do anything, because if they do, Microsoft can just slap an exclusivity on that shit, and then I'm like,
dude,
now I'm thinking of that.
They were talking guitar, like they brought
Guitar Hero. No, I forgot they own that still. They still have the IP for that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, no.
So he was like, if they're passionate about Guitar Hero and they want to do something innovative like Guitar Hero again, then I'm gonna let them do Guitar Hero.
No, that's not fair. Oh my god, they were like, remake Guitar Hero 1 and 2.
So they talked about that. They talked about the backlog, like the back library.
Yeah.
And he said that this is going to be different than Bethesda, because Bethesda went relatively smoothly. They were already preparing Bethesda's back library for upload onto Game Pass before the deal was even done. He said because of the problems that they had with Activision and the uncertainty, he said that they couldn't do any of that. So he said that we'll start that. He said that an account somewhere suspected that it'd be like 2024 range for any back library for Activision Blizzard to be uploaded. He says that sounds about right.
I'll be so mad if I see an article, Guitar Hero on the Game Pass, I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm gonna be so mad. I'm gonna be so mad.
Even like,
or if they're like Tony Hawk 1 and 2. Or granted, I have Tony Hawks on my PlayStation, so I'm cool with that.
You have Guitar Hero on your PlayStation.
I have a guitar. Not the PS2 ones. If they put out the PS2 ones,
yeah, I mean,
that's
you have
game
some
over.
Xbox games.
That's game over. Because I have all the PS3 ones; those are fine. But the PS2 ones is over.
He said, he basically said that there will be back library on Game Pass, but it won't be for a while because they weren't able to kind of like hedge the processing there. And then on the King market,
Oh
he
yes.
said that basically it was important to him and whoever the other decision maker is in game in Xbox, that it was important to them that, like, when you're talking about 5 billion people who play games on their phone and you're not in that market at all, like, you can't do that. Like, you have to be in that market. So he said that that was an important part of the acquisition for them. But I think, to what people are worried about, is he specifically said, he's like, this does not mean that all of a sudden all of our games are going to be mobile games, or that we're going
Oh,
to implement.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it was like, or that we're going to implement mobile game practices into our games, or that all of our games are going to be free to play. He was like, we bought King so we could have a foothold in the mobile market, and we're going to let King do what King does. And he's like, that's why we bought them, is for the mobile gaming market. He's like, we didn't do, none of the other acquisition was for the mobile gaming market. So basically that they're going to let King do the mobile gaming stuff, and they're not going to, it didn't sound like they're going to over allocate much else into King.
Well, it would make some sense. I mean, granted, you and I already knew about the mobile piece of this, that how important it was. We knew that. I mean, yes, it wasn't talked about as much, but like that is possibly even bigger than the console part, because more people have phones than they do consoles. So, anyway, but I was gonna say to kind of counter that, and we can close up after this, is you know, it's probably, if you kind of look at a more long term plan here. Now, there are a few games out there that have done okay with that kind of mobile strategy within the games, namely, I imagine Duty, and then the Ultimate Teams in Madden and FIFA, and then your Fortnite, and that's basically it. That's really it, right? And I think we've had enough tries from big publishers, big budget games, to try to do this not really free to play, but this games as a service, or just this ongoing game model, or just whatever, that kind of taking mobile strategies into their games. We've had enough big budget tries and burns to where I think the publishers, if they're looking forward, they either have to completely rethink of how you make the game work within that framework, or you abandon it. Because
I think
they're starting to see that at least the current way that it has been done is not bringing the returns that they thought they were going to get.
I think what is more likely, at least sooner than later, is that we're going to see Microsoft owned IPs in a mobile game structure. So there might be a mobile game of Halo that's like a twin stick shooter on the phones. Like, I think they'll take their IPs that they have and transition them to mobile, but like, I don't think we'll see it bleed the other way.
Yeah, I think.
Other than, I don't know, we might get Candy Crush on fucking Game Pass. I don't know, because like that would work.
Hey, but at least that was already, like, you knew what that was, right? Like, it's not like a brand new thing that's trying to be a mobile game. Like, that's already a mobile game. So like that wouldn't be as big of a deal. But like, I agree. I hope that's the case. Now, people still get upset when they take beloved IPs and make them mobile games, like, Diablo Immortal, for instance.
Yeah, he mentioned that as a success, which is why
it is technically it is a people. There are plenty of whales in that game where it is a success. It's just the diehards, which there's a lot of diehards in that game, who are a lot of passionate fans who are going to be screaming much louder than the quiet people who have been spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars into this game. So, and trust me, I know that I'm not people. If you be, no matter what you hear on the internet, that game is making money, and so
there's a reason why you talked about.
You're gonna have people who are gonna be upset if they did like a Halo Wars mobile game, which I think that could work pretty well. An RTS mobile game, I think, could work well. But people might be upset, like, oh, it's a new mobile game, blah, 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 blah. But like
a Kingdom. What's that mobile game, like Kingdom something?
I don't play mobile. I don't play mobile games. I would not know.
Anyway, there's a game. There's a ton of mobile genres. Tower defense, fucking Halo tower defense game. I'd fucking play that?
Well, wasn't
game.
there?
I love tower defense.
Didn't
games.
Gears make a mobile game years ago and the players were looked like Funko Pops?
Yeah, that went nowhere. I don't even know if that launched. To be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
I saw it at conference that year and never saw it again.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, but it's been, and people actually didn't mind that one. I don't think people weren't really screaming
because it was
about
so different.
that.
I think it was so this is mobile.
Yeah, but I think Halo Wars actually would be a really smooth transition to mobile because RTSs work really well in that genre. I mean, you play those games, So I think that might work well. But we'll have to see. But
before we go,
yeah,
I would like to take the time to say that my theory is just gaining steam. It's gonna happen, bro. It's because in the video, the amount of times that he said Nintendo is now going to get Call of Duty, or hints at Nintendo getting Call of Duty, he hinted at it tons of times.
Does Nintendo want Call of Duty? And by that, I don't mean Nintendo the company. I mean just
the gamers.
Does the community want Call of Duty?
He's got to be mentioning it for a reason. And I just my theory I think is the one that makes sense. I think, and he kept on talking about, I know platform, yes, it could mean and the Xboxes, but he was talking about platforms to play games on, platform to play games on, and that he wants people to be able to play games everywhere on their platform, on our platform. It's just fucking Game Pass to PlayStation and Nintendo. It's gonna happen. I think
David is turning into a conspiracy theorist.
Dude, it's gonna. I'm telling you.
Now he's picking apart everything Phil says. You're gonna have notes of every interview he's ever done, and you're gonna put the pieces together with the red string, and you're be like, "I'm telling you, man, it's all this and that."
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, it's happening.
If it does, we probably won't find out for years down the line, just as well as we won't know the full ramifications of this acquisition for years down the line. Yeah. Well, time will tell. If we're still doing this podcast years from now, we'll let you know. But until then, that has been this week's podcast. We will see you guys on the next one. Thank you for joining us, and goodbye, everybody.